Welcome back to the People's Basics and the People's Podcast. I want to remind you before we get into today's topic, and Jackie lets you know who our guest is, to make sure that you are subscribed to the network and that you have joined all of our communities by making sure you check the description section so that you join our link tree. But Jackie, want to let the folks out there know who we have on the program today?
Yeah, today we're going to be speaking with Lloyd Chapman. He is the president of the Small Business League. Is that correct? Is that the name of it? And he's going to be talking today with us about whistleblowers and information. So without further ado, let's bring Lloyd onto the show.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this. So go check out that last episode we did with him on small business, because today we're talking about whistleblowers. So let's bring on Lloyd to the program. Lloyd, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Hello.
Jon, Jackie, how you doing? Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, it's great to be able to talk with you.
You know,
we had a great conversation on small business, but we started at the end of our conversation last time to really start to talk about some of the powers that be that try to intimidate some of the, forces in government to, undermine small business. But there are some other cases where there have been information of crimes that have been, called out. And we had a lovely conversation after our episode about a bunch of different factors. And so we really wanted to talk to you about it. And so I think the first question that we have to start off with is really, what are the forces that currently are most wanting to keep information under wraps? Who are the bad actors that are trying to undermine our faith in institutions because they're doing all these shady things that are getting called out, rightfully so?
Yeah, well, it's the Pentagon and the intelligence community and the Justice Department. So the Justice Department is you couldn't do all this without the cooperation of the Justice Department, right? So the Justice Department goes after whistleblowers very, very, very aggressively, and particularly when they expose either fraud in the government or illegal activity on the part of the government, where the government's violating the Constitution or violating some law. Yeah, they get very aggressive with that. So,
yeah. There's a variety of cases of even some private organizations as well, but I think some of the most famous cases are when there's the government abuse, because there's this fundamental question of how do you balance between security and liberty and proper information for the public, because they'll have these certain things that they'll classify because they think it's for, in their judgment, security's sake. And people will leak this, and that's the basis in which they go about trying to prosecute them. How do you establish that basis of who should be making the determination of what should be classified information? Should there be any classified information?
Well, sure. Yeah, but when you look at the information that whistleblowers have, released, it doesn't jeopardize national security. When you look at what Edward Snowden did, I view him as a patriot. He exposed the fact that our government was violating the laws of the United States of America. And, he's a patriot in my mind. And I know a lot of people disagree with that. But I think anytime you expose the fact that the government is engaging in illegal behavior, that should be rewarded. And those people should be given, not prosecuted, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. We were talking about small businesses last time, and people think that's just like nothing. Like, small business, who cares? I had a journalist one time tell me that if you want to bore your editor talking about stories about small businesses, what I've uncovered, 32 years suing the government, I won 110 lawsuits. My win ratio is 98.5%. A federal judge, William Alsop, described me as being in a David and Goliath battle against a big government, big business. He accused the United States of trying to suppress evidence and cover up evidence. And small business contracting fraud, I think, is the largest conspiracy in the history of America. I really do. I think it trumps the Kennedy assassination or anything else you want to come up with, because in terms of the damage to the American people, everybody in America has been damaged by that. They've misdirected trillions of dollars in the last 30 years. This has been trillions of dollars that they pulled from the middle class economy where most Americans work and given to Fortune 500 firms. And to do that, every president since Reagan has agreed to it, and everybody in Congress. So I don't think anybody could show me where a member of Congress went on national television during, prime time and complained about the government cheating the middle class out of all this money, and it's gone on for like 30 years. But I don't recall that ever happening. And it's so huge. It's almost like, quite frankly, I thought about this all day, what I would say today, and it's not believable. It's so amazing. The average American wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. So, but you know what? I've got the transcripts of the hearings right here. I think I read them last time, right? I read where Judge Alsop, he accused the government of suppressing evidence. Well, that's a federal judge, a distinguished federal judge, accused the United States of America of suppressing evidence and covering up evidence, right? And what's the big deal about small business stuff, right? So why is the government, fighting so hard to suppress that? Because it's fraud. It shows that they're violating federal law and cheating the American people, right? But one thing that I'm really disappointed in is that the Justice Department is, if you're someone, a whistleblower, and you're trying to expose fraud and corruption in government, the Justice Department is going to come after you viciously. And they want to put you in jail for as long as they possibly can. They don't care if you're innocent or guilty. They don't care about anything other than they want you in jail for as long as possible. And they're very, very aggressive about that. I'm sure people must be incentivized to do that. Why would some attorney for the Justice Department, want to put somebody in jail for the maximum, amount of time for some fairly minor things, right? So there must be actually financial incentives to do that. Or it's a good career move, but they're very, very aggressive. I found this the other day. Here's the most recent one. Daniel Hale, a former U.S. Air Force intelligence analyst, was sentenced to 45 months in prison Tuesday after pleading guilty to leaking a trove of government documents exposing the inner workings of severe civilian calls to the U.S. military drone program. So Daniel Hale was involved in the drone program, and exposed the fact that for every bad guy they kill, they're killing 10 civilians. Well, that's unacceptable. I think it's probably a violation of federal law, right? But so this guy, that's information we need to have. But I guess a bigger picture is the effectiveness of the intelligence community, and to tell you the truth, a lot of people may think I'm crazy, but to me, the enemy for American people is the government. That's your enemy, not the Taliban or ISIS. The enemy to the American people is the government. I just saw an article about President Biden appointing a bunch of defense industry executives to run the Pentagon. Well, that's not supposed to happen. There's a law that says you've got a 7-year grace period before you can do that, the revolving door thing, and they're doing it anyway.
Yeah, that was the first executive order. Or no, that was the first bill, was to give them an exemption to allow this defense contractor. And
Obama was the one that was supposedly put that rule in place, wasn't he? So he was vice president of Obama.
Right.
When that law was
I remember, I worked on Obama's campaign. I remember Obama said, he said something about that being a whistleblower is the highest form of patriotism. And he said there'll be no room in his cabinet for lobbyists. Well, the first position he appointed was the guy who's going to be over acquisitions for the Pentagon. It was the lobbyist for Raytheon. First person he appointed. That's my recollection, right? So whenever you see someone, a president, appointing people from any industry into the agency that regulates that industry, right? In my mind, that's not a good guy. That's not a good man. right? So yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see Biden do that, but it's all over the media, right? He's just packing the Pentagon with defense industry officials, and I compare the defense industry to the fireworks industry. Yeah, the fireworks industry, if they had a lobby, they'd like to have every day be the 4th of July so they can sell more fireworks, right? So yeah, the Pentagon guys. Well, let's just say
that reminds me of the Los Angeles case. Do you remember the police department who tried to basically undo all these fireworks that they had captured, and so they lit them in the middle of town and just blew it up? Imagine, as you were just saying, it's like if you have these firework people trying to sell it, you're going to cause harm and you're going to have more fireworks. You're going to have more explosions everywhere.
Yeah.
And all we're doing is sending the explosions elsewhere.
Right. When you think about the defense and aerospace industry, and again, my perspective is probably unusual, but I think it's fairly logical and accurate. The defense and aerospace industry, they make things to kill people, right? When you look at defense contractors, they make things to kill people. My girlfriend and I were in San Diego and went for a tour on this big aircraft carrier. I can't think of the name of it, but and it's kind of struck me. The function of this thing is to kill people. Here's this big giant boat packed with ordnance and jet planes, and its function is to kill people, right? And that's kind of a weird, thought, right?
So much of our resources, energy, time, money, tax dollars, so much of it goes to killing people or making things to kill people. That's sole purpose is. Oh, but we want to say defense, but when we say defense, what we're talking about is worst case scenario, killing people.
Right. Quite frankly, to me, after what I've seen, they should change the name from the Defense Department to the Offense Department, right? Because America is essentially, like a big island. You can't get here to attack us unless you come from Canada or Mexico. That's not going to happen, right? So we're pretty safe here, and but we're attacking people around the world like crazy. We've been doing that, my whole lifetime. Korea, Vietnam, and Panama and Afghanistan and all this stuff. And
Obama was put into office as an anti-war president, and then he ended up bombing more countries than Bush did. He droned more people than Bush did.
Yep.
We are still bombing more countries than Bush did to this day because Obama kind of opened that door. Yeah. And what's happening in Yemen right now, that started with Obama, not Bush.
Yeah.
And I keep asking whatever happened to the anti-war.
And we just increased the budget by $25 billion. We just approved a new increase. 2 weeks
but we can't afford to extend unemployment benefits and stuff for people. But we have infinite resources for destabilizing other countries, undermining their democratic processes. We've got it down to an art form at this point.
Oh yeah. Well, what's really amazing is their public relations machine that they use to glorify all this, and it's patriotic, right?
Right.
And if someone's son gets killed, in Afghanistan or someplace, he's a hero. And I hate these bumper stickers that says freedom isn't free. Yeah, it is. It's free, right? But what's not free is taking freedom away from people all around the planet. I don't think we'll ever know how many countries we've got soldiers in shooting people.
Yes.
Right? Today.
Officially or unofficially.
Yeah. Oh, well, so much of it is unofficial. I was surprised to see, we had soldiers in some country I never even heard of, and there was a story about a soldier that was killed and they didn't, get his body until later, all this kind of stuff. But just think about it. When you put these people in charge of the Pentagon that are in a revolving door with weapons manufacturers, what kind of decisions do you think they're going to make? What do you think we should do?
Right.
Let's go kill some more people. Let's buy some more bombs and some more bullets and some more technology, and send rockets through people's window and stuff like that, right? And then show it on television. Remember during the war in Iraq, they showed all these videos.
I was horrified. I had friends that were glued to the TV, watching those night, fire, and I'm just like, this is so gross. This is so.
It's like, yay, go
we're
team,
like, that's
go.
a desensitization. Like, we are desensitizing people to violence and like making it normal. We're normalizing it. We're normalizing surveillance. Like the elf on the shelf thing is like we are telling kids like that it's totally normal that an entity is just watching over them and they better behave. Like, it's so creepy and so dystopian, and it's like a consumer thing, and it's wrapped up in this like capitalist consumer thing on top of it.
It reminds me of like when we were watching CNN or MSNBC, who were not fans of President Trump for the most part. But the times where they said he finally looked presidential were on his bombing campaigns. I remember, what was it? Was it not Anderson Cooper? Another one of their silver foxes there at CNN was basically saying that's the moment in which that he became president. It could have actually been Van Jones, for all my knowledge. I remember actually, for my knowledge, I might be confused because multiple of them said it. So, it's definitely a notion of glorifying that. And I have to ask, on that same vein, you would think that some of these whistleblower cases would be very natural, positive stories for a lot of the media, uncovering corruption and crimes being done by the government is certainly salacious and drama-filled, but very often it seems like these are the cases where they say, no, these are threats to national security still. I have certainly seen that in the cases of like Edward Snowden, as well as Julian Assange as of late, who are more covered sometimes in the media space. Why do you think that is? Is it that you're just owned by these powerful groups? Well, what's your theory?
Well, I saw a diagram 15 years ago of the boards of directors of media, TV, all media, and the people that are on the boards of directors of these big defense contractors are on the boards of, the media companies. There's a very incestuous relationship. When you think about, I think the media is partially responsible, because they're not exposing, this stuff. They're not exposing. If nothing, they're glorifying it. So if you watch, television, they're not talking about, how many civilians got killed. They're glorifying it, like they're the only word I can think of is glorifying it, But they don't talk about what's really happening. You can find out what's really happening, on the internet, but you're not going to find it out by watching national television. But another thing that happened.
When people were protesting going into Iraq, which again, for everybody who forgot, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. I'm going to go to my grave saying Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, and we're still in Iraq today. But there was it was the largest protest at the time, and it was completely radio silence on media, all media. Like, if you weren't aware of the situation, you would have had no idea that people were out on the streets in numbers protesting and saying, no, we don't want to go into a war. And guess what? We were all right, because the war, it was an endless war. It's still going on. It's totally unjust. We've killed over 1 million Iraqis that had nothing to do with 9/11. So the media is absolutely complicit and actually like encouraged and like proliferated those lies that like there was weapons of mass destruction. It's so crazy that like there are kids today right now that are like don't even know that don't even know America not at war, because we've been at war for so long, and it was based on lies that the media helped perpetrate. And we're still paying for it. And so every time I see those reunion videos where like, oh, somebody comes home and they surprise their daughter or something at their basketball game, I think of all the people that never got to go back home and be reunited with their family. And it pisses me off, because it was for nothing. And we aren't safer. And if we want to talk about safety, the number one killer of all Americans is food, but you're not like having to go through, metal detectors and take off your shoes to get into the grocery store. So we don't care about like actually saving human lives. We don't care about keeping people safe. We care about making the oligarchy richer. And that's what you're talking about when you talk about that Venn diagram of like board of directors of media and food and like the contractors. It's all very, very like incestuous. Like you said, it's a big club, like Carlin said, and we're not in it. Like these people are running things. I think Jon had a question about, what did you call it? The deep state, like, what's your opinion on the deep state? I think the deep state is the oligarchy. And it's not even that secret. They are fucking out there. They have names and addresses. You can absolutely like see exactly who fucking owns everything in this country and who's. Jeff Bezos is a good one. He owns newspapers. He owns Amazon. So that's a lot of food too. I mean, when we talk about these incredibly important things, these things that we can't live without, they have their fingers all in it.
Absolutely. Jackie, you're brilliant. You're absolutely brilliant. You know exactly what's going on.
I've been mad for like 20 years.
Yeah. Notice that no one on national television is saying what you just said. No one on national television.
And I sound like a crazy person.
Yeah. I think that my perspective on America today is what will be commonly held 100 years from now. Yeah. I think 100 years from now, they'll know how stupid it is. So here we have a country where half the people die from heart disease. Half of them, right? 50% of Americans that die, they die from heart disease. Well, that's from the food. That's from hamburgers and pizza and meat and dairy products,
smoking, right? Lifestyle, yeah.
So if you're an American, you don't have to worry about the Taliban and ISIS. You got to worry about McDonald's, right? And
kids with guns. I mean, children with guns kill more people than terrorists do. So there's that too, our freaking gun obsession. But hamburgers. If we really cared about keeping people safe, it's the food. It's the food.
It's frankly, I think a lot of it comes from just the notion of pride. We talked about how very often these things are kind of defended by the sake of patriotism and pride in one's country. It's like this willingness to grapple with one's sins and flaws and say, oh, I'm killing myself, is not an easy thing to accept. Think about it on a personal level. No one really wants to accept that they're the source of their own problems. And that's what we're kind of having to grapple with in America. We can still say we do certain things okay, but we're killing ourselves actively. When we're getting dumber and more divided. And I think there's a lot to be said that there is culpability in the media. And one of the things is like we have all these industries that supposedly if you have poor quality products, you are going to be held liable to certain degrees. Where is that level of accountability for anything in the media? We have all this large level of protection that there's no level of account of holding people to the truth, because the payday makes it, who cares? I'll say what's comfortable for me.
Well, the 2008 crash is a great example of what you just said. Nobody was held accountable, but millions of people were illegally foreclosed upon. People lost their house and they shouldn't have even, they illegally, they weren't even they had the whole due process, and no bankers were held accountable. Obama, Biden, again, And we're watching it in slow motion all over again. Are we going to let what happened in 2008, 2009 happen all over again with this new eviction moratorium? Yes. I mean, because why? Because it's going to make a lot of people a lot of money.
That's right.
And then there's going to become a whole renter's paradise because BlackRock and these investment firms are buying up houses and regular people can't compete. So, I mean, we really are going to be a nation. We're essentially turning back into feudalism, or caste system. It's the haves and the have-nots, and the 99%, right, are the have-nots.
Yeah, America is completely upside down. Everything in America is completely backwards, where the real threat are diseases. it's heart disease, cancer, COVID, Parkinson's. That's the problem. I'm 71. I don't have to worry about a terrorist, break into my house and shoot me. I got to worry about prostate cancer, colon cancer, all that stuff, Parkinson's, dementia. That's the problem. And yet we're spending like 1,000 times more money developing, weapons they are trying to cure these diseases. Think what it'd be like. The CDC budget, I think, is $11 billion a year. The Pentagon spends 3 times as much as they say. When they say, here's the Pentagon budget, yeah, that's a scam. That's a total scam. They spend 3 times that much. The number that you hear on television, that's not the real number. I saw a story, 15 years ago. I think it was in The Nation that said that the Pentagon spends $1.2 trillion. But when you look at the manufacture of nuclear weapons, the disposal of nuclear weapons, the VA, and all the cost of wars, I think it's probably most of the federal budget is spent related to wars and the support of wars. I think that's true, right? When you look at all the things they do, if it's not most of it, it's a huge percentage, right? But yeah, it's crazy. I sometimes think about this kind of stuff and it just drives me nuts thinking about it, because you'll never hear this on national. You'll never hear it, right?
Yeah.
But they should spend $1 trillion a year trying to cure cancer. And I think about this. What would happen if we closed every military base outside the United States of America? We got troops in Germany, Japan. What the hell for, right? We got troops all over the planet, right? I think I saw the number of military bases. I was astounded. It was some astronomical number, like there's thousands of military bases around the world, right? And I wonder what would happen if we closed all those military bases around the world. And, the 9/11 guys, we let them in, right? Yeah. So if I let a murderer or a robber into my house, that's a mistake right there, right? But yeah, we let those guys in. And but yeah, to me, it's completely upside down. Most of the money should go for research to cure diseases, and to the educational system and infrastructure. I saw in the news the other day a bridge fell down somewhere and killed a bunch of people, right? Thousands of bridges around the country are just, they're gonna crash any day now.
Most of this infrastructure is from back in the last time we did the New Deal. We did a newer deal and actually started to rebuild some of this stuff.
Which was, I'm going to keep coming back to Obama, because he disappointed me. He was supposed to have the Green New Deal. He was going to usher in all these green new jobs. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. FDR, he had a mandate, we were going to change. We were going to change stuff. And then it just was like, no, just kidding. At least Biden said it out loud. At least he said nothing's going to fundamentally change. So at least he didn't lie and say like, oh, it's a new day, everything is going to be awesome, and then just like immediately become a corporate, Because when he started picking people for his cabinet, I was like, okay, you got me. That I'm not falling for that shit again.
Exactly. So let me tie whistleblowers and Obama and all this into a story. During the Obama administration, I noticed that my invitations to go on the media just stopped one day to the next. I think we talked about that last time, and I was going on national television on a regular basis. You can go on, Lloyd Chapman .com, LloydChapman.net, ASBL, and you see me. I've been on every major news program in America. I've been on every major news program, right? Fox Business, CNN, ABC, NBC, either me or stories about, what I was doing. I've had stories in every major newspaper in the country. And since 2013, I've won bigger lawsuits. And yet I've been on national television in 7 years, right? And as I saw it dwindling down, I went on the Neil Cavuto show. And this is a story about being censored and whistleblowers, okay? So I go to the Neil Cavuto show, and I decided I was going to start a commotion. So I was talking about Obama going back on all of his campaign promises, right? And how he was cheating small businesses and all the campaign promises he'd broken. And I called Obama a con man and a liar on national television in prime time, right? And when the show was over, the producer said, "You're going to be busy tomorrow." He said, "You're going to get, you're going to get 10,000 death threats. You just called a very popular African American president a con man and a liar. You're going to be busy, right?" And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to start a commotion because, my media presence was just like, evaporating. And the next day, what do you think happened? You'll never guess what happened. What do you think happened when I called a popular African-American president a con man and a liar on primetime national television? You'll never guess what happened. Want to guess?
Oh, there's so many different angles I could go here. Like, my surprise angle is that Fox would pull something like that.
I'll tell you what happened.
Go for
Nothing.
it.
Nothing happened. I didn't get one phone call. I didn't get one email. That's impossible. It's impossible. I went back the next week to do another show. I told the producer that he said, "That's impossible. That can't happen." So what they did was they shut down my phone and my email. And one reason I did it was I kind of wanted to prove that, because I saw that the phone calls to the American Small Business League had just dropped off a cliff, right? And the emails, just disappeared. And so they this is 2011, 2010, something like that. And you can see it's on my website. And but yeah, that's when they took over my communication stuff, and it's been that way ever since. But that's what happens to I'm not a whistleblower. I don't know what I'm an activist. I guess I'm a small business activist, right? But Obama.
It's also a chilling effect, because like Snowden and Assange and Reality Winner, and now Daniel Hale, is that his first name? It's a chilling effect. That every time a whistleblower is silenced, prosecuted, even arrested, it's sending a very clear message to anyone else who even thinks about leaking or talking to the media.
Yeah.
You better think twice, because you're not safe. Even though there are laws on the books, right? That whistleblowers supposed to have.
Nothing. Whistleblowers have no protection. None. Every single one has been, abused in every conceivable way. I'll tell you something that I found out when I started doing research for your show here. Do you know when the law was passed to protect whistleblowers? Here's another thing you'll never guess. 1777. 1777. That's when the law was passed to protect whistleblowers. I was shocked when I found that out, right? Yeah.
Wasn't it like, I think I heard the first real whistleblowing case happened even before we did the Declaration of Independence. There were cases in 1773, what was it? Something like Ben Franklin was one of the original revealers of generals conspiring with the redcoats, essentially. And that's a form of whistleblowing in itself. But yeah, this is part of our foundation. It's this idea to be able to speak against your government and tyranny.
It says the Continental Congress.
It's another check and balance.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's just smoke and mirrors, right? It says the Continental Congress enacted the Whistle Protection Law on July 30th, 1778 by unanimous vote. In addition, declared the United States would defend the two. What happened is two American officers turned in another officer for torturing British prisoners, right? Lieutenant Richard Marvin. And during the Revolutionary War, two naval officers blew the whistle on torturing British prisoners. Isn't that funny? So John, I want to say his last name is Kariaku. I'm probably not pronouncing it. But John Kariaku, a CIA officer, blew the whistle on the fact that they were waterboarding people illegally, and he went to prison.
Right.
The people who were violating federal law and torturing people nothing happened then. But the guy that
Right.
exposed it, he went to prison. His life was ruined, right? They made a movie-
International law too. We keep
Yeah.
talking about our laws, but I think that might be one of the reasons why America is so harsh on whistleblowers, because they show to the world us breaking international law, like the double tapping. That the reason that Edward Snowden, was that Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden? But the double tapping, we bombed some terrorist suspects, and then when the help came to get them, we bombed the help, which is a clear illegal action under like the Geneva Convention. It's called double tapping, and
Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning went to lived in solitary confinement for years for revealing that we do that. But the people that did that didn't go to jail.
Yeah, they a
sit
helicopter.
Solitary
He released video footage of a helicopter killing a bunch of cameramen. They were I think one of them was a Reuters cameraman, right? And then when people showed up to help them, they killed those guys. So that's the video that Chelsea Manning, I think, released to WikiLeaks. But isn't it funny that here in 1778 and now I think Kariaku, that was probably 10 years ago. So yeah, we're still doing it. So the thing that they passed the whistleblower protection law for in 1778 is still happening, and John Kariaku and other people who are exposing that we're violating the Constitution, our laws, and international law, they're going to prison, right? They're going to prison. It's very sad. I'll tell you something. It's very, very sad. I grew up, after World War II, and I'm named after my mother's brother who was killed in World War II, Lloyd Allen Granger. He was the navigator in the B-24 bomber. So I grew up being very patriotic, I was probably super patriotic, right? During the Vietnam War, I had a blue jean jacket with an American flag on it, and that was not popular in college, right? I was a pro-war, right? I wanted to join the Army, be a helicopter pilot, go to Vietnam and kill the commies, right? And it's very disappointing to, in my lifetime, to see, how things have changed and see the reality of what's going on, right? I saw the movie with an American Sniper with Bradley Cooper, and they're glorifying this guy who was the most successful sniper in history, right?
Yeah.
First two people to kill was some woman and her kid, right?
Right.
So we go. I can't think what country it was, but so we go around the world to their country and are attacking them. They've done nothing. They've never attacked America. They've done nothing. We're in their neighborhood with tanks, right? Killing innocent people. They fought back, and this guy, shoots a woman or her kid in the head, and he's a hero. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like I said, I think my perspective.
Yeah, that one, I'm so in the same boat, because like my big sister was in the Army, and I was like I was a Girl Scout, and I'm born and raised in Texas, so I was very patriotic too. And then you kind of like learn. I saw a tweet that made me laugh out loud. It was like, you say something that the CIA is like openly admitted to, and you sound like a crazy person, because like we really do have an incredibly sinister, malicious, malignant fucking past. We do and have done horrible things. That's why I'm so like angry, because I don't want 1 cent of my money, of my tax dollars, going towards these terrible, horrible, awful fucking things that we do to other people who have nothing to do with anything. So like there's that, and then you start learning, and it's just like, holy crap, like the American government has literally like let viruses out into subways to see how they spread. That's real. Like you can look these things up, and like the Tuskegee experiments and all that stuff. So like the second you start learning these things, I don't have a sense of patriotism. I don't see very many things to be proud of. Jon and I have like this really fun back and forth about is our country actually free? Number one, this is a great question. What do you think? Do you think we live in a free country? Or
no.
And he says, well, like, it's on a sliding scale. No, you don't. We don't, because I can't smoke a plant in my own front yard without being arrested.
Well,
I can't go without a shirt on without being arrested.
Well,
there's so many things that I feel restricted, but like in relation to other things, sure, we're free. I can say this. I can say that we have an oligarchy. So,
let's see how long this survives on YouTube. We'll find out, won't we? But, I actually wanted to ask you one question, Lloyd. I really wanted to just kind of focus on a solution-oriented thing. We've talked about a lot of instances of horrible things, and I wanted to talk to you about what could be even done. Like, can you fundamentally reform these agencies? Do you get rid of them? What do we even do, like, in your opinion?
Well, the corruption and fraud in Washington is systemic. The whole government's corrupt. Every aspect of the United States government is corrupt, in my opinion, right? Now, I've been in every office in the Senate and every office in the House at least once or twice. I've had lunch in the Senate dining room. I met most of the presidents in my lifetime. I worked on Obama's campaign. When I go to Washington, to me, it's like walking through a sewer. That's how I feel. When I'm in those congressional buildings, walking around, I feel like I'm wading in, knee deep in sewage, right? But it's more corrupt than people would think. So if someone listens to me and they think, I'm wrong, you don't know. You don't know what's going on. You don't understand, right? But the only thing that I think we can do is people like you two, Jon and Jackie, you can, get out there and help people understand the truth. Let's just look at the truth, right? I don't have opinions, quite frankly. I don't have too many opinions. I have facts. I've got lots of facts, right? And the facts are that our government is corrupt. They're squandering our tax dollars. They bankrupt America. So the war on terror has bankrupted America. So as soon as we attacked Iraq and everything that's come after it, we're bankrupt. Bill Clinton left office with a surplus, and we're $28 trillion in debt now. That's an amount of money that can't be paid back, right? You can't pay that back. It's not possible. Okay, when anybody says, Lloyd Chapman says it is not possible to pay that off. The interest is so high that it's compounding at an astronomical rate, right? So yeah, the war on terror, all this crap, it's bankrupted our country. And I think the coronavirus has been such a problem because we were prepared for it. They're going to spend $28 billion to put a woman on the moon. Who gives a shit about that? Who cares about that, right? Can you give me a cure for prostate cancer so I don't have to worry about that all the time, right? And but yeah, I think that I think the government is so corrupt. I don't think it'll ever change. It's getting worse. It's getting much, much worse, right? So Eisenhower gave a speech warning people about the military-industrial complex. Donald Rumsfeld echoed that speech the day before 9/11, and it's just gotten worse and worse. In fact, I think about Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech. If you're not familiar with that, you can look it up. He warned the American people in his last address. He warned the people about the growing power of the military-industrial complex. Now, flash forward, that was 1953. Now let's flash forward to 2021. Joe Biden's packing the Pentagon with defense industry executives. Exactly what Eisenhower warned us about, in 1953. It's just gotten worse. But all we can do is what we're doing. All we can do is what we're doing, right? This is what we're doing. I don't think it's going to be in the mainstream media.
Yeah, Obama used to say the best disinfectant was sunshine, right? He was always talking about being transparent, a transparent administration. Yeah. I'm going to always be bitter about Obama because he said all the right things. I mean, it's the perfect example of the establishment co-opting the language of the oppressed. Yeah. I mean, he said all the right things, and we ate it up. And there are people to this day who still think he's like the best president that we ever.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And I've had for it too. Yeah, for sure. He did an incredible job of like pulling the wools, but you kind of have to want that too. Like I really wanted another FDR, but Biden's not an FDR either, even though there are some great things that are happening. But like you said, what's happening, behind the scenes is just so much worse than the good things.
Well,
the incremental little breadcrumbs.
When you look at Obama, again, just the facts. Obama campaigned for 2 years and said, if I'm elected president, I'll adopt a windfall profit tax on the oil and gas industry to help indigent people pay their fuel bills so they don't freeze to death in the wintertime. He said that every day for 2 years. Every time he opened his mouth, he said that. He was elected on Tuesday. On Wednesday, his website came up on change.gov. Under the economy, the first thing was the windfall profit tax on the oil and gas industry. The next day, it was gone. It was gone. Never to be heard from again. You can Google that. Google Obama's windfall profit tax on the oil and gas industry and read about it, right? He said that being a whistleblower was the highest form of patriotism. President Obama prosecuted more journalists under the 1918 Espionage Act than every president in history combined. From George Washington to George Bush, Barack Obama prosecuted more journalists than every president in history combined. Right?
I gotta say, people gotta see this video and then send this to everyone who thinks the best controversy he has is a tan suit.
Yeah,
because I hear that all the time. We heard that recently from his 60th birthday, and people fundraising from, the president only had a tan suit. No, we're clearly talking about way more than just a tan suit.
In the room I'm sitting in now, I wrote a press release that Obama put out. And it said something like, most Americans work for small businesses. They create all the jobs. Yep. We must protect this valuable resource. And it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. He put that out. The next day, he took off the sentence that said it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. So I worked on this campaign 12 hours a day for a year. I worked on his small business advisory committee. And he would not accept a recommendation to stop giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms. He rejected that notion.
There's a
really
documentary
does seem
called,
like the most hollow subject in all of politics. Ask any politician, do you support small businesses? They'll all say yes. Ask them if they're going to do something about it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I will give the first one of your listeners that can show me a video of any member of Congress in the last decade objecting to the government giving small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms. The first person that can do that, I'll give them $1,000 in cash. So you show me a video of anybody in Congress objecting to the United States of America diverting small business contracts to Fortune 500 firms, I'll give you $1,000 in cash. The first person. I got $1,000, right? You can't do it.
You heard it here, folks, y'all.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it, right? In fact, how about this? I'll give another $1,000 to the first person that can show me someone from any organization in the country other than the American Small Business League objecting to the government diverting small business contracts to Fortune 500. I'll give that person $1,000 too. I got $2,000, right?
This is so easy, Jackie. We just got to go publish an article. Let's get this done. Right. Have easy money here.
No, I would like really quick. Can you remind our audience, if they didn't catch the episode before, about the 23% rule that we keep referring to, like why we're so freaking angry about this small.
That's just something that nobody knows. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, because I didn't. You absolutely taught us that last time.
The largest economic stimulus program for the American people in history is the Small Business Act that was passed in 1953. And that law says, even today, that a minimum of 23% of all the money the government spends go to small businesses, right? The Census Bureau says 99% of all U.S. firms have less than 500 employees. 98 have less than 100. My definition of a small business is less than 100 employees. I think that's very generous, right? The average American company has 10 employees. But that law's been repealed. That law's been repealed and the Small Business Administration's been closed. That's something that no one says except Lloyd Chapman. The Small Business Administration has been closed. They closed it years ago. They cut the budget to the point that it can no longer function, right? And that law's been repealed. Every year in the Defense Authorization Bill, there's more language to repeal the Small Business Act. And so in 2020, small businesses probably didn't get 3%. Legitimate small business with 100 employees probably didn't get 3%. And I may have talked about this last time, I don't remember, but the Senate did a study that said for every 1% contracts of small businesses go up, it'll create 100,000 net new jobs. Well, if they give small businesses the full 23%, that's an additional 20%. That's 2 million new jobs a year for free. No new taxes, no new spending, deficit neutral, for free. Create two, and that's an 80% increase. So, I've got a plan here to increase the number of jobs by 80%, won't cost a penny. And I'll never be able to say it on national television. Yeah. I'm banned. I'm banned. I've been
purely greed and corruption, because it makes so much sense. Like, it's obvious where we need to be putting the money when you know where the jobs are. Yeah. And yet we keep giving the money to these big firms that all they use that money for is to automate away jobs or outsource jobs. And that's how we're losing here in America right now.
And also, what is oh my gosh, of course, the airline that we keep giving money to, and they just they haven't even finished. Boeing, thank you. All of those stinker airplanes that can't even fly, and we're just giving them, millions and millions of dollars.
We could go on all day.
What are these? I'm curious. How do they get away with 3%? Is it the language where they say, 500 people business is a small business?
Here's how they do it.
How is
they do it? The reason they can keep doing it is nobody on earth talks about it but me. Nobody but me. Again, right? Nobody but me. And
triple the population here.
Yeah, I call it the Iron Dome. In 2013, from one day to the next, they shut me down. They just shut me. They turned off my phone, right? And you can't talk about it. And so here's what's happening. Do we have time for this? 3 minutes. So in 2021, the United States of America will spend 97% of our tax dollars with less than 1% of the companies. And that 1% hasn't created one net new job in over 40 years. And many of them pay zero income tax. I'm going to say that again. So in 2021, the United States of America will spend 97% of your tax dollars on 1% of the companies that haven't created one job in over 40 years, and many of them pay zero federal income tax. I say that if they continue doing that, which they're going to, that's going to cause our economy to collapse. I truly believe that. I believe it's going to cause our economy to just completely collapse, worse than 1929. But here's what it took me 10 years to figure this out. So all Fortune 500 firms have a common interest, whether it's Apple or ExxonMobil, they have a common interest. They want lower taxes and less government regulation, right? So all the Fortune 500 firms have this one lobby, which is the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And their story from as far back as I can remember is cut our taxes and we'll create jobs, right? That's their scam. Cut our taxes, we'll create jobs. Yeah. Well, I was going on national television saying they don't create jobs. Fortune 500 firms do not create jobs. Small business create jobs. So that blew their rationale for cutting their taxes. So they didn't want me on CNN, which is CNN's customers are Fortune 500 firms. So every major media outlet, their customers are Fortune 500 firms. So when Lloyd Chapman goes on, So when Lloyd Chapman goes on national television and says Fortune 500 firms haven't created one job since 1980, they don't want that because they're out there saying, cut our taxes and we'll create jobs. They don't want anybody, I'll tell you the craziest thing is all the data that used to be on the internet that shows that small businesses create like 99% of the jobs has been eradicated. It's been systematically eradicated. I used to blog a lot on a number of blogs, and I was dropped as a blogger on the Huffington Post and all these blogs, all in 1 week, by the way, in the summer of 2013. And I used to link my blogs to the Census Bureau's website. So the Census Bureau website showed that 99% of all U.S. firms have less than 500 employees, 98 have less than 100, 89% have less than 20, and the average American company has 10 employees. That was removed from the Census Bureau's website. And all the articles, all the stories that were on the internet that show small business growth jobs have all been eliminated. You can't find it anymore. And but that's a conspiracy to me. That's a conspiracy. With,
It sounds like another case that you're going to get on. You're going to do another play at them?
You know what? I'm kind of working on it right now, actually. I've got a phone call with my lawyer tomorrow. But if you want to see anything about who gets small business contracts, you need $1 million in 7 years, because they're gonna fight like hell. They don't want you to see, right?
Yeah.
Too bad.
Well, we always appreciate hearing straight from the source of so much of what's being hidden on the subject of small businesses. So we really appreciate you taking the time with us again, Lloyd. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's a
Do you have any
pleasure.
final thoughts you want to share with the folks out there on whistleblowing or small business?
Well, people need to realize that the Small Business Act is the largest economic stimulus program for American people in history. It's been repealed, and nobody knows. Nobody knows. You can't talk about it. It's something you can't talk about. You could talk about all kinds of bizarre military secrets, stuff like that, but you can't talk about small business contracting fraud.
It's the bottom line.
Yeah, and you know what? You guys are great. Jackie and Jon, you guys are fabulous. And I wish you guys were on, national television, because people need to hear what you're saying. So what you're saying is the truth. That's the truth. And people need to hear the truth, not this bullshit on national television that's funded by, Fortune 500 firms, right, that are hijacking, most of our tax dollars. But I wish you guys the best. I'll do anything I can to help you. You guys are amazing.
Oh, well, I certainly appreciate the endorsement, Lloyd. We love having you on, and we hope to be able to continue talking with you into the future. You're always welcome back.
I'll be around.
Okay, well,
as one Texan to another, I'll say, you come back now, you hear?
I will, darling. I'll come back anytime.
Awesome.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you so much.
That was Lloyd. It was always great getting to talk with him on our program. We enjoy having him on for the small business episode, and we had that linked in our episode today if you want to go check that out. You're going to hear some stuff that is similar, because you know what? This is what he loves, and it's a big conspiracy. This is why we wanted to bring him back up, because it's really important. It's the bottom line.
Yep.
That's who the media tries to obey, because they're very advertising reliant. And so we need someone in the media revealing these dirty secrets. And so we hope to be able to continue to provide that coverage. And we're glad Lloyd can bring us some of the facts and figures around it as well. Jackie, any final thoughts that you want to share with the folks out there?
It's nice to know that I'm not insane, I guess. Like Lloyd kind of, it makes me feel very vindicated, because before I met you, I just kind of felt like I'd been screaming into the void. And then you said, I think you might be good for the podcast. and it's really good to be able to feel vindicated. No, I'm not insane. No, I'm not alone. That this is really happening, that it is true, and that we have an outlet that we can share this information, because it is incredibly important. Like you said, we're all about the universal basics, and if the freedom of information isn't one of the universal basics, I don't want to be here. We have to be able to tell the truth, to disseminate the truth, and not be scared of it. Truly, I am old enough to remember when the Patriot Act came out, and it really did have and does have a chilling effect. I censor myself so much because I don't want to. I know I'm on a list I know I'm on list, but you know, like it is very chilling, and I feel like just the Patriot Act alone has made the country so less free because we don't feel free to express ourselves. And I mean, if we can't even peaceably assemble, which is like part of the absolute foundation of this country.
It was the first thing we said we wanted to prioritize.
And again, Obama arrested so many people during the Occupy movement, and his Justice Department coordinated to dismantle the Occupy movement, which I feel like the game stonks are kind of like a morphed version of Occupy. But we don't have freedom to assemble. We don't have freedom of real, true free speech. Are we a free country?
There's a lot of work to do on freedom.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. And, you know, compared to some of the other left advocates out there, we are definitely a little bit more state skeptical, government skeptical. So some words, it might not be perfectly apropos, like libertarian and liberty, are things that, you know, I don't feel as scared from. The party itself is maybe a bit scary at times. They go a bit far, but I think liberty is something we need to prioritize, and information is certainly one of the basics. But that being said, that's going to do it for another episode here at the People's Podcast at the People's Basic Network. Please remember to subscribe to the network so that you are notified whenever we got new videos out. Please help us share these videos. This information needs to get out there. And as always, our universal people, we do hope you stay classy out there.